Welcome in. Today we're talking about the Secretary of War really getting things buzzing when he announced that Qatar was going to open up a base inside the United States, flying their F-15s over our soil. So today we're going to take a look and see what actually is happening, what was said, and what we think is going to transpire based on this agreement that was reached between the United States and the country of Qatar. So first, what was said? Secretary of War Pete Hegseth announced on Friday that the Pentagon had agreed to host the new Qatari Air Force facility in Idaho. This is home to Mountain Home Air Force Base, which is home to U.S. Air Force F-15E Strike Eagles, as well as Singaporean F-15s. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Hegseth made the announcement during an enhanced honor cordon arrival ceremony at the Pentagon for Qatar's Minister of Defense. Today, we're announcing a letter of acceptance in building a Qatari Air Force facility at Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho, and that really got people fired up. So let's take a look at a little bit more context and dive into what's going on here. So first, we know on October 10th, 2025, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth signed a letter of agreement with Qatar's defense minister at the Pentagon during his visit. This was to build the dedicated facility inside Mountain Home Air Force Base to train their F-15 QA pilots. 36 advanced fighters ordered from 2017 to now, and this is part of through the State Department's FMS program, Foreign Military Sales Program. Think of it like a co-located annex for Qatar's squadrons. They'll fly along F-15E crews from the 366 fighter wing, sharing the airspace and expertise. So no new base is being handed over or created. So why Mountain Home? Why Idaho? Well, this area is already the hub for this type mission. Since 2009, the Republic of Singapore's Air Force has based their F-15 SG squadron there, and it's under a 25-year FMS deal, flying 12 jets, training 200 plus personnel annually, and integrating seamlessly with U.S. operations. Qatar is aiming to mirror that footprint with big operational gains. As the Air Force says, the FMS bed-down docks, these are to strengthen alliances without straining U.S. resources, which makes sense. Obviously, Qatar has hosted Al Udeid Air Base for the last 20 plus years, being a core and integral part to our operations in the Middle East. So at a minimum, this is kind of scratch your back, I'll scratch your back. Not to mention, they've integrated with our combat operations overseas. So this starts to feel kind of like a natural fit to a certain degree. So let's put this in perspective and back it up here a little bit for the U.S. Air Force and international pilot training just to begin with. This all kicked off after World War II. And since then, the U.S. has trained over 9,000 allied pilots. Now, a lot of these flow through traditional Air Force pilot training pipelines. Dozens of countries are represented at every pilot training base. And this doesn't even dive into Euro-NATO joint jet pilot training, NJEP out at Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas, which is predominantly focused on NATO training. We'll get to that in a little bit. But since the end of World War II, the Mutual Defense Assistance Act formalized the cornerstone of the U.S. strategy by countering the Soviet threat. And since the 1950s, flying and training air forces across the world has been a key component and a key focus of our Air Force. And it falls on our Air Education and Training Command in the Air Force. Now, the Navy and the Army also have these type of agreements. And if we jump into something a little bit more than just pilot training, we can actually look at foreign nations hosting their formal training units here in the United States. The first one that comes to mind is German F-4 Phantoms during the Cold War and up until really the last decade or so, flying F-4s out of Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. So in my opinion, this is nothing new. This is honestly really a nothing burger in my opinion. The U.S. has hosted foreign military pilot training, foreign military aircraft, all under this FMS, the Foreign Military Sales umbrella, since the 1950s, logging thousands of hours and thousands of sorties each and every year. When I was at Luke Air Force Base going through F-16 training, we had the Singaporeans and the Taiwanese. Now the Luke F-16 mission has wound down. And in fact, Singapore has transitioned their F-16s to Fort Smith, Arkansas at Ebbing Field. And they'll soon transition that F-16 mission to the F-35 mission. So again, I don't think this is anything new. And then if we zoom out a little bit and just look at pilot training to begin with, we do have 4 main pilot training bases for the Air Force. Laughlin Air Force Base in Texas, Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi, Vance in Oklahoma, and Shepherd Air Force Base in Texas. Each one of these bases has over 50 partner nations that they train various pilot training cadets every year. They train them in the T-6 Texan II, the T-38C. Depending on what their program is and what their follow-on aircraft is going to be, will drive the syllabus that they're located on. Maybe they fly the T-6 for a year. They might fly a T-6 and then a T-38 and go back to fly a MiG-29. Again, it just depends on where they're coming from. Ultimately, the whole goal here is interoperability later on down the road when these are seasoned pilots operating in a coalition environment we all speak the same language. Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training, that is hosted at Shepherd Air Force Base, and that one's a little bit more specific. It's our NATO countries, and trains 200 plus students from over 14 NATO nations each and every year. So is this Qatar thing any different than others? I really don't think so. This is all part of the FMS playbook. Again, that foreign military sales playbook. Sell them the iron, give them the training they want. And depending on the check they're willing to write, kind of forces what's going to happen after that point. And really, we've only talked about the Air Force, right? Remember the Navy, the Army, they are also going to be players when it comes to this coalition type environment. The Navy has Pensacola Naval Air Station, which also has international training programs. The Army handles all the rotary stuff, and that's going to be done at Fort Novosel or Fort Rucker or whatever we're calling it these days. I know for the Qataris, putting an F-15 squadron here in the U.S. is a big deal for them. They're going to be able to capture a lot of the instruction and expertise from U.S. fighter pilots. This is something that's not uncommon, that when you sell a piece of iron, there's usually a deal made for an exchange tour. For example, the F-15s going to Saudi Arabia. There used to be, and probably still is, an instructor pilot role that is assigned and billeted every year to send a U.S. Air Force F-15 pilot over there to train the Saudis in how to fly it. Now imagine if you could bring your squadron over to the United States and train in the same environment alongside. You really would be getting the most bang for your buck, and it's something that is highly desired and sought after. So after Qatar has bought a lot of our weaponry, they have given us a base to host our primary operations. They've given us a base, even though we pay for it, I know, to operate out of, predominantly in the Middle East. This seems like one that's not too surprising that went down. So are the Qataris taking over Idaho and the United States? Are they building a base? No. I really think this is foreign military sales 101. This is coalition boosting by supercharging the coalition, trying to bring the Qataris alongside other F-15 squadrons. Will Mountain Home be overrun by Qataris? Again, I don't think so. I mean, in the end, you're going to have Qataris spending a lot of money. So if we look at the economic standpoint, that's probably a win for the local economy when it comes to construction, etc. Let me know your thoughts down below, and if I am way off base here. But again, I think this one is really not that exciting despite the rage that has popped up online over it. So see you next time.